What's up, YouTube? I am back to do another video, and today's video is going to be on the 4-year-old Armani Hill in Natchez, Mississippi. Now, this case has several different pieces to it. There were 2 children that were abused. The 4-year-old Armani Hill passed away, and she has a 3-year-old sister that is still in the hospital recovering from her injuries. Now, the mother, the 25-year-old mother, Lakeisha Jones, and her boyfriend, let me make sure I say his name right, James Christopher Anderson, 24, have both been arrested. Lakeisha Jones has been arrested with the charges 2 counts of child deprivation, which meaning she wasn't feeding her kids, and her boyfriend has also been charged with 2 counts of child felony abuse. Now, this case is a very sad case, and again, this is coming out of Natchez, Mississippi. This case is a very sad case because, for one, CPS was called back in December because the kids had cigarette burns put out on their body, and it took CPS probably a week to answer to that call. According to the caseworkers, they tried to get in touch with the mom, and they tried to get in touch with the mom's boyfriend, but nobody answered the phone. But it is said, allegedly, that the caseworkers have so many cases that they are trying to work, that they are overworked, and this case the original call kind of slipped between the cracks. So I'm going to read, just give you a brief overview of the case, the situation, all the parties that are involved, and then I'll kind of discuss each topic. I know 3 CPS caseworkers have been put on administrative leave, and I'll go through each part of the case, how many times CPS was called out, what CPS did to resolve the issues, and things of that nature. So, alright, let's go to, I'm going to go to the original article. Now, once again, this case is coming out of Natchez, and if I'm saying that correctly, Mississippi. And of course, they're going to have all the most recent updates on this case. Okay, mother-boyfriend. Once again, we have another situation of a mother's boyfriend charged after 4-year-old killed younger sister hospitalized with severe injuries. This is the third case since the Malia Davis case of a mother's boyfriend beating a child to death. The second case was Aaliyah Cameron, and that was in Las Vegas. She was 3 years old, beat to death. And this is out of Natchez, Mississippi. And there's 2 children involved. It's a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. They're not giving the 3-year-old's name, of course, because she's underage. The Department of Human Services had opened 2 cases on the kids due to previous injuries in the past. And I am going to play the news clip real quick.
The team at Caramont Health shares a commitment to putting patients first, the heart of healthcare. We don't just bring high-tech procedures to our region, we deliver them with compassion and a human touch. That's what makes Caramont Health different. We keep up with modern medicine while keeping our focus on you. Care first isn't just work, it's the promise that drives everything we do.
kidding me? Okay, I'm just gonna read it. Let me pull
For
it
every single.
Let me pull it up on YouTube because this is taking too long. I'm gonna play the news clip on Armani Hill. Okay, guys, be patient with me today. I really didn't feel like doing this video tonight, but this case bothered me, so I wanted to go ahead and do a video on it. I was going to do it over the weekend, but I was waiting to get some updates on the second child, but they haven't posted any new details on the 3-year-old. So I was wanting to know her condition and if she passed away, but she was in ICU, but currently she is recovering, so that's a good thing. She's going to survive. Armani Hill. Okay. Oh, why is that not pulling up? Oh my God. When I'm not looking for something, I can find it. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and read it.
Caramont.
A heart-wrenching case for law enforcement in Natchez. According to police, a 4-year-old died Wednesday of a brutal beating.
Hard to even fathom this happening. Her younger sister is now fighting for her life after investigators say their mother's boyfriend attacked them. 3 News Side's Rosalind Anderson with the latest.
One child is dead and another is in critical condition after Natchez police say they suffered a severe beating at the hands of their caregiver. Their mother and her boyfriend are now in custody.
These babies suffered.
Natchez Police Chief Walter Armstrong is appalled by the beating. He says 2 children suffered at the hands of their mother's boyfriend, 24-year-old James Christopher Anderson. Friday, he was denied bond on the charges of felonious abuse. His girlfriend, the children's mother, 25-year-old Lakeisha Jones, is charged with 2 counts of child deprivation. Investigators say Anderson was babysitting Jones's 2 young daughters Wednesday at his home on Lafayette Street when he beat them. He then walked them to his mother's apartment. Anderson told police one of the children kept falling down. The children were later taken to the hospital. Adams County Coroner James Lee said 4-year-old Armani Hill died of blunt force trauma to her head, neck, and abdomen. Her 3-year-old sister Layla Hill is in critical condition at UMMC.
He chose to take these kids on a 1/4 mile walk to the Holiday apartment, which is where his mom lived. I have seen abuse before, but this was the worst case of child abuse that I have ever seen.
Investigators say the children suffered more than 12 injuries. Jones also has an 8-year-old son. Her bond is set at $500,000. Both are being held at the Adams County Detention Center. In Natchez, Rosalind Anderson, 3 on your side.
Okay, did you guys hear the police chief state that this is one of the worst cases he has ever seen? Apparently, the mother's boyfriend beat Armani Hill until she couldn't even walk anymore. Like, he beat her to death. And the reason both the biological mother is arrested, Lakeisha, is because they had just closed the CPS case a day before this incident happened. So the very first time CPS was called out to Lakeisha's home was in December of 2018. And according to reports, it took them about a week to actually visit the home due to the fact, for one, they're overloaded with cases. They said they had been trying to call, nobody answered the phone. And according to reports, Lakeisha actually stayed in the home with her mother, and her boyfriend didn't live there. He was supposed to have lived somewhere else, but he lived with them. So it was the grandmother, the mother, and the boyfriend. So when they finally got in contact, they did a visit to Lakeisha's home because somebody had called and said that they noticed cigarette burns on the kids' bodies. Like somebody was literally putting their cigarette butts out on the kids' legs and arms. Now, when CPS finally investigated the situation, they couldn't determine if the bruises were from, them just playing or getting bit up by insects or something like that. So they left the situation alone. Well, later, a couple months later, which would be in February, the grandmother took the kids to the doctor because one of them wasn't feeling good. So when the doctor actually examined the child, the medical office called CPS once again. Now it took them once again several days to check up on these kids. The doctor asked the 4-year-old Armani, how did she get the gash? She had a gash in the back of her neck. So the doctor was concerned about the gash that was in the back of her neck. Originally, the little girl told the medical provider that her mother hit her in the back of the head. Well, once CPS finally got to the house to investigate the situation, the little girl had changed her story and said that her little sister hit her in the back of the head with a walkie-talkie, but apparently the mother did it. So after this situation, this is in February. Now remember, from December of 2018 up until February, they had been out, they had talked to the mom, they talked to the grandmother, they talked to the boyfriend. The boyfriend said he did not live at the house. So they didn't close the case, but they just did that one visit and went on about their business. Again, another report was made in February. And it took about 5 days later for them once again. Now another report was made. I apologize for that. On 1/15 by the doctor's office. CPS came out 5 days later to find out the situation. They ruled it a level 3, which is, your I guess in CPS terminology or in the state terminology for a level 3 report, it's nothing major. They didn't find anything out of the ordinary. So from December's report and January report, both were ruled at a level 3 report, which was the kids were not in safety, in any type of danger. They were safe, so they left them in the mother's care. So from March, April, May, and June, CPS decided to do a case study at home, which the kids would still continue to be at home with the mother and the grandmother. Now, supposedly, allegedly, the boyfriend does not live there. And they would come in and do random visits to check on the kids to make sure that they are okay. And if the mother needs any type of additional assistance, she can get utilities paid, food, and things of that nature. Now, it doesn't state that at this point in time, the mother had to take any type of parenting classes, because what they decided based on the reports that they had already had was that they'll just leave the kids in the house, because they didn't find that the kids were put in any harm's way. They didn't find that the kids were abused. They didn't see any markings on the children's body to determine that they needed to remove the kids. But once again, you're talking about caseworkers who have so many caseloads that I'm sure they just go out to the mother's to the house. They listen to whatever the mother says. They look at the kids real quick. They write something down, and they keep moving to the next case, because they have so many cases that they're not putting in enough time and effort to really analyze these children, or probably take them in a different room and let these kids know if anything happened. If there's something that you want to tell me, I can help you and I can get you out of this situation. But at the ages of 3 and 4, I mean, it's not like they're kind of 9, 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, where they can really tell somebody what's going on and not feel like they will be in trouble. So I can't even imagine what a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old little girl feels like, knowing that their place where they lay their head at every night is an unsafe environment, and they're constantly being beaten by not only the mother but the boyfriend as well. Now, here's another part of this story that, in the father's defense, it's really sad, because his 4-year-old daughter is deceased. According to him, Lakeisha Jones took the kids and ran off with them a year ago, and he's all the way in Detroit, Michigan. He stated that he has been looking for his kids for over a year and didn't know where his kids were. Now, Lakeisha was living in the same place with her mother, so I don't know if the grandmother was actually helping hide the kids from the boyfriend or the kid's father, or what the situation is. Maybe he never even met the girl's mom. But Lakeisha had 3 children: an 8-year-old son, Armani Hill, which is 4, and the 3-year-old child. But he had been looking for his kids for a whole entire year, and he didn't know where his kids were. So I'm not sure who reached out to the biological father and called him and let him know the situation with his children, so he could be notified that his 4-year-old daughter was deceased, and she passed away June the 5th, when I don't know if it was the neighbors called or who called regarding the kids, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. So Dante Hill didn't have a clue of where his children were. CPS had already been visiting this home for the past 7 months prior to Armani Hill's death. They created a plan to go out and visit the children between March, April, May, and June. And the day after they closed the case is when the incident occurred, when Armani was murdered and the other child was beat to death. So they closed the case on June the 4th, and a day later these children one child died, both kids were beaten. Okay, so currently the 3-year-old have severe injuries and will need multiple surgeries to recover. I don't see how CPS allowed those kids to stay in the home when there was a report, somebody who knew those children, somebody who was close to that family that called CPS, saw those cigarette burns on those kids' bodies. So I'm not really sure how they analyze the children, or how to the depth of investigation that they do. But if you get a report that children have cigarette burns on their body, their parents are putting their cigarette out on their kids, to me, a little more detailed investigation should be done. At least, take them to the doctor. And this was back in December. In January, when the grandmother took the kids to the hospital, to their primary doctor's office, based on one of the kids being sick, and the doctor found that cut in the back of her head. Once again, CPS was notified by the doctor's office, and it still took them 5 days to investigate. And it was in February, on 2/20, is when they opened the case and started to monitor the kids from March, April, May, right before the baby was murdered. Right before she was killed, they did a 3-month plan of monitoring the kids at home. The day after they closed the case is when James Anderson decided to beat the children to death. So on May 20th is when the caseworker did the final exit interview. Now, March, April, and May, she did regular home visits. That meant she checked the kids, she talked to the kids, she looked at their bodies for bruises, scars, cigarette burns. And in that 3-month period, she reported she did not see any injuries. So the case was closed on 6/4. When I was reviewing the details about this case, it made me wonder if for that 3-month period, the mom and the boyfriend didn't spank the kids, treated the kids, pretty decent, made sure they ate. And then once they closed that case, the boyfriend was so enraged that he beat them, because for 3 months he couldn't hit them at all. And I just don't understand a mother who would allow a man to beat their kids unless they are involved with it. I don't understand how they all lived in the same house and the grandmother never heard the children being beat. I don't understand. I'm a grandmother, so I don't understand how she could be around her grandkids and not know that something was going on with them. They were getting beat. They had bruises on them. They wasn't being fed. Unless, I don't really know. They haven't really gave much detail on the grandmother. I know Lakeisha Jones lived in the same house with her mother. I know her mother was part of the CPS meeting that they had when they decided to do the home visits. And the mother and the daughter stayed at the CPS that James Anderson did not live in the house. So I'm really baffled by how the grandmother did not know her grandchildren were being abused. They wasn't eating. I'm sure those kids could, talk and let her know what was going on, unless all 3 people in the house were beating the kids. So after they closed the case, they did the exit interview, which is when they go do their final walkthrough. And the only thing in the report that they found was that they had a space heater that needed to be fixed because of safety hazard, because of a safety hazard, and they got that done within a 90-day time frame. But other than that, the person that worked this case did not see any type of injuries, didn't find anything wrong with Lakeisha's parenting for 3 months. So they closed the case. On 6/5 at about 11 a.m., somebody called 911. It doesn't state who. It doesn't state if it was a neighbor, somebody in the neighborhood. Officers responded to a 911 call. 2 kids in the back of a vehicle severely beaten. And according to the officers, this is by far the worst child abuse case they have ever seen. The James Anderson beat these kids and beat Armani to death, leaving the other child badly beaten. Neither kid could walk. I mean, that means he just literally beat them like they were a punching bag. The 4-year-old died, I think, about 3:55 p.m., if I'm not mistaken. On 6/7, CPS issued a statement stating that 3 CPS workers have been put on administrative leave until further notice, and 1 is a supervisor. 1 is a supervisor, and 2 are caseworkers. So the caseworker who actually handled this case, and probably the supervisor who approved for her to close the case. So she actually closed this case stating that these children were fine. Now, what is it about a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old that an adult would want to beat? They wasn't feeding the kids. They was beating the kids. They beating the kids. What can a 3 and 4-year-old child do to even deserve to be hit or to be beat? Or I just don't get it. And how does a mother allow a man to beat their kids like they mean nothing? See, I don't understand that. But she was involved as well, because she also has been arrested. I'm glad that they have arrested the mother. I'm glad that they have arrested the boyfriend. And if they are convicted, they will spend life in prison, and they both need to be convicted. I am going to read the statement that says, in order to convict them of murder, the state has to find that their beatings were intended to kill the kids. And at the rate that Mr. Anderson beat those kids, then yeah, that's a life sentence. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I know Lakeisha worked at night, and according to the police, Mr. Anderson was walking the kids to his mother's house. So I'm not 100% sure if Lakeisha is the one who dialed 911, or if she was even there when he beat the children. But I know when she went to work the night before, he was there to watch the kids. He was actually babysitting the kids. So, and it don't state where the mother was at this time as well. I haven't gotten there's not any updates on the second child. I know the 8-year-old son is in CPS custody. He is with the foster family. He is not with the grandmother or any family members. He is in foster care. Excuse me, guys. He is in foster care. I'm taking some Advil. I got a side cramp. He is in foster care. I don't know the condition of the 3-year-old as of yet. They did have Armani's funeral on Sunday the 16th. As of right now, the third the CPS workers are still on admin leave. They are currently investigating the case, and I'm hoping that the mother get a life sentence just like the father. There's no way the mother did not know what was going on. The mother had to be a part of that beating. Who sits up and puts cigarette butts out on children? The mother had to be a part of the abuse as well. I don't understand how they all lived in the same house and the grandmother did not hear anything. She didn't know those kids were being abused. I just don't understand. And the type of house that they showed on the news is a shotgun house. I mean, it's a very small house, so you can hear when you walk across the floor. I don't get how the grandmother did not hear anything. I want you guys, if you have not researched this case, haven't heard anything on it, once again, this is Armani Hill, and this is coming out of Natchez, Mississippi. I will bring you updates on the case. If you guys want to do a live topic on this case, just hit my inbox, and please subscribe, like, hit that notification button. And once again, I really appreciate all my subbies. I appreciate everybody who have subscribed to my channel, who leave a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. I really appreciate it. And again, if you want to do a live topic, I did want to do this video live about this case, but my internet is acting up in my room. So if you guys do want to do a live discussion on the case, let me know, so I'll make sure that I'm set up where my internet service when I stream doesn't have a poor connection, so we can talk through this case. I'd like for you guys to do a little research on it if you're not familiar with it, and when there's any updates on the 3-year-old, I will come back and do an updated video. I will keep you posted on the status of the charges for Lakeisha Jones and the boyfriend. What is his name? Mr. Anderson. I'd like to reach out to the biological father, and I'm going to see if I can get some kind of contact information on him, Dante Hill, to see if he will grant me an interview, because I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to just kind of see what he knows and how he's feeling at this moment, considering he had been looking for his kids for over a year, and the mother took the kids away, which kind of, I know he's hurting. Again, thank you guys for watching my channel. If you want to do a live segment and we go over this case and we talk about it, please let me know. Thank you for watching the Jezebel Show, and you guys have a great night.